Greetings to one and all. It's your old buddy Jay here, coming at you with another episode of Countermeasures Game Changer. Now, you know I love a bit of design. You know I love a bit of gameplay. You know I love a bit of gaming. So let's just put all that together and talk about the latest epic CrossfireX. Possibly the worst first-person shooter I've ever had the displeasure of playing. It has been getting some really awful reviews, so obviously I had to absolutely try it because, while I love kicking back and playing Elden Ring and having a good old time with that and really seeing what the next gen of games can do. Occasionally I like to dip back into 1991 and see what the old first-person shooter games are like. And that's what this is, but it's not from 1991. It recently came out, it was recently released on the Xbox. Previously, before that, it was on the PC. And unfortunately, this game is just not very good. Now, I was quite excited about it because Call of Duty, obviously every year that's annualized, it's always the best-selling game of the year, and I always really look forward to playing that game because I do like playing the campaign, and then I usually do multiplayer up to about level 50, so each year I probably put about 30 or 40 hours into that game, and I do really enjoy it. Whether the story's any good or not, who's to say? But I haven't played Vanguard yet, Call of Duty Vanguard, which came out in November. Just because it was so broken at release that I've just been waiting for the patches to get to a point where people aren't sort of criticizing it anymore. And then I want to dive in and actually see what it was originally meant to be like, rather than just dealing with the fact that there's loads of bugs and things in it and just complaining about it, which I don't always want to get on this channel and do. So, except for today, where we're going to talk about CrossfireX. So let me just tell you a little bit about the background. CrossfireX is a first-person shooter. It is released exclusively for the Xbox One and Xbox Series X on February the 10th, 2022. Oh, by the way, this is all the terms of service at the start of the game that you have to scroll through and confirm. There's about 4 or 5 pages of this stuff. Nobody's ever going to read it. And it just says things like, if this game's crap, don't complain, and blah, blah, blah. It's just really, really awful when you have to go through that. It's so, you just want to dive into the game and get straight into it. Call of Duty is brilliant at that. You put it in, and within like 2 minutes, as long as all your updates are done, within 2 minutes, you're in the game, Whereas CrossfireX likes to delay everything as long as it possibly can by making you read all that junk, which no one reads anyway. So stick it somewhere else. I guess they have to get people to sign up to it to make sure that when people do inevitably complain that the game's total garbage, that they say, yeah, but you click the confirm button. So anyway, it is the third, apparently this is the third installment of the Crossfire series. It is Remedy Entertainment, worked on the single player campaigns of this particular game. Remedy, who are really well known and really well respected, they have lost so much respect on this game. I mean, I cannot believe that they had anything to do with it whatsoever. It has to be put together by a third party. It still has their seal of approval on it, which is just so damaging for them because it's total garbage. So yeah, it's the third in the series. So basically what it is you download it on the Xbox, and then, it allows you to jump into the multiplayer. Of course, straight away, when you jump into this game, it just tries to sell you stuff before you've even started. The first thing I saw on this was like, buy this weapon, or it just came right up in my face before I'd even had a chance to really look at what the game was all about. I mean, it's absolutely appalling. So this structure is aimed at having a multiplayer that you then ultimately buy assets to play within the game. So you've got a good gun, you've got all this stuff. But the problem is that they've jumped forward to the shop. They've jumped forward to the microtransactions without actually building a game that people want to play. So before they've even got to the point of being able to offer people this whole kind of range of cosmetic stuff and also game-changing weapons, which is the pay-to-win model, which is appalling, they have just completely messed up the multiplayer. So there's several different modes. This mode that you're looking at here is Team Deathmatch. Now, you'd expect to have a few maps. This one has one map. This is the only map in the whole game to date, which I'm sure they'll update it at some point. But it is so bad. You're just on a tanker, and there's like 2 ways you can get there. You can get there underneath, which is what I'm doing now, to get to your enemy spawn point, or you can go over the top, which is essentially just like 4 or 5 crates bodged in the middle of this map, where you can just shoot your enemy. And there's no kind of tactical side to this. There's no vantage points where you could kind of sit with your sniper rifle and get a good spot. You basically run at each other, and it's just luck whether or not you can actually get it, whether you can actually take out the enemy. So it's not about survival. It's about how many people can you shoot before you get shot. Sometimes none, sometimes 3. It's just an absolute mess. So in terms of interaction with other players, appalling, absolutely appalling. It just doesn't work. Secondly, the reticule. This is the traditional Crossfire version, or it's called Classic, which is where you don't have ADS, so you don't aim down sights. That is totally broken unless you're aiming at their knees. If you aim at their knees, you'll get a headshot. If you're aiming at the head, you will fire above them every single time because it just doesn't work. It isn't set up properly. Now, if this is the classic version, if this is what people are used to, and this is what it used to be back in the day where it was a bit broken, it's janky, and we're having a kind of throwback to the way it was, great, let's do it. That's fine if that's what it is. But it's not that. It's just badly programmed. It's just badly put together. It's just, look, see, I was shooting a headshot of that guy. He was in the reticule, and it just fired above him. Now, he's obviously played longer than I have, so he was aiming at my toe caps and took me out straight away. So it just does not work. It's a total mess. Now, I did play the more modern version where you can aim down sights, and the engagement with other players is just as bad. It's an absolute mess. It's an absolute mess, and I'm really, really disappointed with this game because it is such a cash grab. They're trying to play down, go down the Call of Duty model in terms of the multiplayer, which, by the way, love Call of Duty or hate Call of Duty, it is an absolute masterclass in how to run a multiplayer. How quickly to get people into games, how quickly to keep people's interest in the kind of things that you're doing, different interesting weapons, different kill streaks, all this kind of stuff to drag you into the game, to keep you playing again and again, from the moment of death to the moment of respawn. I mean, this is pretty quick as well. There's no stop in the fluidity of the gameplay, which is so important when you're playing these games because your adrenaline's up, the tension is up, and you don't want to be delayed into getting back into the firefight if you've just lost one of your characters and you're going back in again. And this game just loses all the pacing of that. They're not an interesting map to run through. It's so bad, and I can't believe there's only one. It's appalling. So that's really awful. There are a couple of other multiplayer modes, which I'll show you in just a second. It'll flick over in just a second. We'll have a look at those. But I just want to talk about the campaigns. So the campaigns themselves are, there's one called Operation Catalyst and one called Operation Spectre. You have to, this game is free on Game Pass. And, so you're already paying your subscription. You just happen to get all the multiplayer and stuff included within that subscription. So ultimately, if you just play this game for a month, it costs you £11, right? It's totally not worth that. It should be absolutely free. And maybe in a world in the future, it will be absolutely free. But at the moment, if you actually want to play the campaign, you have to pay. Even though you've got Game Pass, you have to pay for the other campaign modes. So if you want to play Catalyst and Spectre, you have to pay for them. And I just wasn't prepared to do that. So I'd seen some other reviewers, people like Angry Joe, have been looking at this and talking about how bad those campaigns are. And you know what? I get a feel for exactly what the gameplay is from this multiplayer in terms of your connectivity with the world. And I see, other people playing these campaigns. I know I've watched those reviews, and these stories are just terrible, and the writing is awful, and I think they're like, I don't know, they're either £7 or £12 for each of the operations, and they're only a couple of hours long. I mean, it's just such a rip-off, and it's these kind of games that are just completely killing the first-person shooter genre for me, even though it's the highest selling, Call of Duty's highest selling game of like every single year. There's never a question about that, unless you're talking about like League of Legends on mobile or whatever. But in terms of consoles and PCs, it's always the top seller, because people like the multiplayer, they like the repetition, they like the fact that if they spend like $50, then they get so much for their money, which I think is great. Now, this is the other mode. So this is a sort of a challenge mode where you have to take out the other team. I think there's a part of this mode where you have to disarm a bomb. that didn't matter because there wasn't enough people playing on the other team, because they just immediately dropped out as soon as we started, or the matches didn't match us up. So we had like 3 or 4 people on our team and then just one person on their team. So as you can see, there's a few bodies hanging around and stuff. And I've run right through their spawn now, and I'm looking for this guy, and there he is. There he is. So I was playing this for about two minutes. Yep. And I won the game. Fantastic. That was it. Now, this is the other mode. Now, this is really promising because what this is a total rip-off of Battlefield. So they've taken both of those models and just basically mashed them together, and they don't really work. But what was interesting about this is there was a whole point where you had to maintain some bombs and stop them from being disarmed. And then when it got to a certain point, the map environment changed. So as you can see there, I just went down on the zip line and it put me into a different environment. And I think that was really interesting. So I think that as far as that goes, I haven't seen that a great deal in other games. I mean, Battlefield does it, but it kind of does it at your own pace, and well, actually the new one 2042 doesn't, because that's appalling, and I'm not even going to bother reviewing that because it just is such a mess. It's worse than this, if anything. And I just feel that that's something that I think maybe Call of Duty could learn from, by having these kind of interactive maps that change throughout the stages of your multiplayer. Now, you can argue that is Warzone, but I actually think if you're not into Warzone, which I'm absolutely not, I'm not really into that. I like Fortnite, but I'm not really into Call of Duty Warzone kind of, the equivalent. I much prefer to play the kind of team deathmatch stuff. I just play team deathmatch and sabotage, and that's about all I do play. And I like it when the maps change, so that the environment changes, something blows up, so that you've now got something obstructing you within the middle of the map you didn't before, and things like that. I just find them really, really interesting. And this does have that. This multiplayer does have that, but I don't know. I played about like maybe 4 or 5 hours of this game. I'm done with it. I just feel like it's a total mess. I just feel like it's a cash grab. I feel like I like Call of Duty, and if I do say so, I'm all right here. I do all right here, But this game just, I don't know. It just rubbed me up the wrong way. Everything about it just is imbalanced. Like the way that your character moves, the way that they handle their weapons, the different kinds of weapons you can get, the way that you're fighting. But, some of these people take one-hit kills, and some of them I'm emptying like 50 rounds into them, and they're not dying. I mean, it's just completely imbalanced. And I just would not recommend this to anyone. See, I tried to kill myself there. So that's the end of that, and that is pretty much the roundup of what CrossfireX is. Avoid at all costs. I mean, if you've got Game Pass, you could download and try it, but I personally think you are wasting your time with this game. So I cannot rag on this one enough. Do not play it if you have got anything else to play. And that's about all I have to say about it. So I am going to give this a score. It's going to get a 2 out of 10. I would have given it a 1. It could have potentially been worst game of the year contender, along with Popeye, which are both holding in there. But I'm going to give it that extra 1 point just because I did quite like the way that the interactive maps changed through one of the modes. So I'm going to give it that. But everything else, total garbage. I just think it's not worth your time. And there you go. So I've played it so you don't have to. Hope you enjoyed the review. Hit the likes and leave comments. And if you've played this and have anything to say about it, then do. And if you have anything that you've played similar, then let me know that you feel might be worth checking out, in which case I'll do that. And thanks very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you at the next Game Changer. And all that's left to say is be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Cheers.